1, 2. There we go. You have to give a talk when you receive the Outstanding Alumni Award, and the title of my talk, which I thought was totally appropriate, was The Underachiever of the Class of 1972. If you knew my classmates, you would understand. It's an absolutely remarkable group. So thank you all for coming, especially smaller people. It's nice to see you all here. And it's really my honor to be able to be associated with the Astronaut Scholarship Foundation and to present these scholarships to these amazing students. So before we get started with that, I wanted to show you a brief presentation about the Astronaut Scholarship Foundation, and I believe if I push this button, it'll work.
At the Astronaut Scholarship Foundation, we honor the thirst for exploration.
From the legends who blazed the trail,
to those of us inspired to continue their legacy.
We are on a mission of discovery.
We are fueled by the possibilities before us.
We are the Astronaut Scholars.
Our nation's most talented college students in
science, technology,
engineering, and math.
It was a mission born nearly 40 years ago from the hearts of our early space pioneers to keep America as a world leader in technology and innovation.
These heroic explorers made a commitment to support the next generation of young, exceptional minds, to give them the tools and power to leave their own footprint in society.
When I was selected to the Astronaut Hall of Fame, I finally understood at that point the importance of ASF, of motivating this generation of kids that are coming up and giving them a chance with scholarships and mentorships and stuff like that. And the goal that ASF was aiming for and fulfilling and realizing, it was changing lives of these young scholars.
ASF continues to change lives. Over the past 38 years, ASF has awarded more than $7 million to over 600 college students pursuing STEM degrees. Our impact spans coast to coast at 45 of our nation's best universities.
This past year, that reach deepened.
ASF received a $1 million grant from Blue Origin's nonprofit, Club for the Future.
The generous donation led ASF to create the Founders for the Future program in honor of the original Mercury 7 astronauts and founders of the Astronaut Scholarship Foundation.
Now, ASF will select an additional 7 astronaut scholars for the next 7 years.
The result? We're shaping more STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. Game changers here in America.
This impact across America wouldn't be possible without you.
Your support fuels our critical mission.
It keeps the dream of space alive,
while ushering in diverse scientific and technological advancements destined to benefit all of humanity.
Thank you for sharing our passion for progress.
Together, we will build promise and hope for a brighter future.
Congratulations to the 2022 Astronaut Scholars. And thank you to our sponsors for fueling the next generation of game changers.
Okay. So it's an amazing organization. Like it pointed out, it was founded by the Mercury 7 astronauts and has since been carried on by the astronauts from the other programs, from Gemini, Apollo, the Skylab, the Space Shuttle, the Space Station. So it's quite a group of supporters. And more importantly, it has supporters, funders from outside world, and I wanted to give a special thank you to the two organizations that are funding the scholarship at Harvey Mudd, the Founder for the Future and Valkyrie. We should give them a hand, actually. Yeah. And it's very rare when you have scholarships that are completely merit-based. So the organization is really looking for the best students. We're not looking for the best students who are going to be necessarily astronauts or aerospace, but just the best students who are going to contribute to technology, science, engineering in the United States. And so it's focused not solely on aerospace, but just on what's good, because there's no telling what field is going to make the big contribution in the future towards our standard of living, our quality of life, and our exploration of the universe. So let me introduce the two recipients to you so that you can hear a little bit from them. And I have to be careful because their names have lots of letters in them. So first, let me introduce Amani Maina-Kilaas. How's that? Come on up. Oh, congratulations. You got this.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to talk about our research and express some gratitude. As some of you may know, I am a member of the Amistad Lab at Mudd and have been since the summer after my freshman year. When I joined, I had no clue whether I wanted to do research, just that I wanted to try it. But afterwards, I knew I had to stay in the lab. That summer with Prof. George, I investigated how equipping virtual agents with a simple theory of mind can lead to advantages in multi-agent scenarios. For agents to seamlessly interact with others, they must not only consider observable states, but infer the intentions of the agents as well. Imagine moving through a crowd of people in the Hawk to reach the dessert section, a scenario I'm sure many of you are familiar with. One can avoid bumping into people by maintaining a minimum distance away from everyone, but a more effective strategy is to consider where people intend to go, allowing you to prioritize moving away from those who are moving into your path over those who are walking away. We created 3 simulations to demonstrate that such benefits exist and quantify their improvement, resulting in 3 publications at international conferences. While I continued to pursue research in other settings, it was this experience that most convinced me to pursue a PhD. This is because I learned what it was like to be a researcher, not a research assistant. I thank my advisor, George Montañez, for giving me the opportunity to discover my inner academic. And I thank the Astronaut Scholarship Foundation for helping confirm this inner academic. When I found out that I had been selected as an astronaut scholar, I was filled with both excitement and gratitude. This award not only provided me with financial support for my education, but provided validation for my ability to succeed as a researcher. When I met the other scholars, I felt honored to be recognized among such a brilliant cohort of kind individuals who share my passion for science and technology. Lastly, I would also like to thank Valkyrie for supporting my ASF award, an invaluable contribution to my education and growth as a researcher. And thank you all for listening.
Thanks, Amani. Thanks, Amani. And now, Alec Vercruysse.
All right, thank you all very much for coming. I want to thank the Office of Financial Aid for recommending me for this scholarship and for helping me through the application process. I want to thank all the professors as well who have served as inspiration and mentors for me and given me the opportunity to do research, so particularly Prof. Spencer, Prof. Brake, and Prof. Tsai. I also want to thank the Astronaut Scholarship Foundation for awarding me the scholarship. It's been a great honor. I've appreciated the mentorship provided to me by the organization, as well as the financial support and the opportunities it provides. I'm super grateful to do undergraduate research here at Mudd. I work with Prof. Matthew Spencer's Analog Circuit Engineering Lab, building and learning about underwater ultrasonic phased arrays. Right now, we're developing an ultrasonic phased array to be able to do marine life tracking with passive tags on the fish. Phased arrays are hugely important in communications technology, and the idea is that you can electronically steer where your transmitter and receiver is sensitive to by shifting phases in your transmitted and received signal. Thank you.
Okay, well, welcome you two. Besides the scholarship, you are now part of a community of about 700 astronaut scholars, and it's really over the many years of the program since 1984 has built up quite a cadre of folks. So you are now part of a real community of scholars that I hope you can draw upon and use as mentors, and then in the future you will return the favor as you go on to the amazing things I know you're going to do, and help other kids too, right? Okay, so now I get to entertain you a little bit, tell you a little bit about, can we see that, about HMC in space? I started young. This is my first rocket ride in Coney Island in 1954. So 3 years before Sputnik, so I was ahead of my time. Here's at Harvey Mudd with my classmate George Clary, who's unfortunately no longer with us, but who had an amazing career in commercial aviation himself. George is packing the airplane, and I'm scraping the ice off the wings so we can head out on a cross country. This experience that I got at Harvey Mudd really was key, one of the keys to me being eventually selected for the astronaut office, and really a valuable one. This morning I went to visit my flight instructor from my days at Harvey Mudd, Iris Critchell, who is still around. Actually, a couple of months ago she went flying, and my classmate, or usually our head, Lud Trosbeck, has an airplane, and said he took her out, and they went out flying, and he never touched the controls of the airplane. Iris is 102 years old. What can I say? I hated these suits. They're really uncomfortable. And the odds of having an accident and actually having to use them were close to zero. So, but it looked good. When they originally made these suits, they were sea blue. And I remember jumping in the pool with a sea blue suit saying, "How are you ever going to find me?" So they changed them to orange. This is the cockpit of the space shuttle, the modern cockpit of the space shuttle before it was retired with glass instruments instead of hardware instruments. But to me, the amazing thing of in this picture is you can absolutely tell this is a government vehicle because it's filled with paper. It's astounding how much paper there is. Just the vehicle is wallpapered with stuff. But by the time you fly, you have all this information in your head, so you don't really need it, which always kind of surprised me. Get ready for a flight. You do lots of training, and my first mission, I got to do a couple of EVAs, spacewalks, and where you prepare for those are underwater normally. So this is me just pretending I'm flying the maneuvering unit over to this little satellite called the Solar Max satellite. So on my first flight, we did the first actual satellite capture and repair which was really a pathfinder for what we later did so successfully on the Hubble Space Telescope. Launch is amazing. No matter what vehicle you're on, it's noisy, it's scary, it's loud, and you just kind of hang on. Luckily, the computer is flying the vehicle. The computer that was in this vehicle on our launch had 128K of memory. Every bit of it was used. And the programs were transferred in and out of the computer on a reel-to-reel magnetic tape. Shows you how fast the technology changes. After the Challenger accident, which was caused by a leak in one of the solid rockets, getting rid of the solid rockets, everybody on the ground and everybody on board breathed a real sigh of relief. One of the things you don't want to see when you get on orbit is one of your heat shield tiles floating by the front window. This was on my second flight. Right after the main engines cut off, we looked out the front window, and one of the tiles was, half of a tile was floating by. So we took a picture, and there's nothing you can do about it anyway. So I don't even think we told the ground. Just kind of said bye. It was a white tile, which are not the really critical ones. So made us feel a little better. Some crews are just cooler than others, and we were given these Hawaiian shirts by the folks who work on the spacecraft at the Kennedy Space Center. They wore Hawaiian shirts every Friday to work, and since we were going to be on orbit on a Friday, they gave us these shirts to take with us. So we were proud to wear Friday work shirts on orbit one day. So this is the Solar Max satellite, about 100 yards away from the space shuttle, and I still can't believe they let me do this, but I was one of 6 people who have actually gotten to fly untethered in space, and it looks something like this.
This is in the bay in the MMU, getting ready to take off for the satellite. See the T-pad sticking out there in front.
No tether.
Flight over to the satellite was just like we practiced in the simulator, except the view was a little better. And see, we were a little closer than the 200 feet that we planned, and so I only did a 2 potato burn instead of a 2.5 potato burn, so I went a little slower than.
But all that felt very comfortable from my standpoint of watching the satellite and watching Pinky do the flyover, just like we planned it. It's a nice, stable device that the MMU really performs superbly throughout the flight.
The MMU is really a very, very nice machine to fly. You could put it wherever you wanted. Flying up on the satellite was just like we'd done in the simulator, all the way up to the point here where we attempt to do a dock, and the T-pad hits that little pin that's sticking out and bounces right off.
So the dock didn't work. I won't show you the results. I ended up grabbing a hold of the solar arrays on the satellite and using the MMU to take out all the extra momentum that I had put into it when I bumped up against it 3 times and made it double end over end. And it turns out I made a freshman physics mistake that actually holding onto the solar arrays and using the propellant in the maneuvering unit, I was able to pretty much stop the satellite from tumbling. It still had some motion. And then I didn't realize the satellite weighed about 2,000 pounds. I weighed about 700 pounds. When I let go of the solar arrays, the center of gravity jumped a significant amount, and the satellite started tumbling again. I probably shouldn't have passed that physics class. But we did eventually get the satellite back and put it in the payload bay, and this is Ox Van Hoften and I out doing the repair, which has turned out to be just tons of fun. I'm riding on the end of the remote manipulator arm, and Ox is just kind of hanging there helping me out. And all the practice that we had done underwater really paid off, and the repair went very, very, very smoothly.
And bottle washing, and if you look out the window there, you can see the snow going by. We're doing a water dump at the same time. Cooking a meal is about like doing it on the ground there.
This is a bank shot by Crippen.
Yeah. Trying to get my eggs in my mouth.
You do tend to eat in space like you do on the ground.
Almost.
Some
of us do. Land shark. Stove's got all the dried fruit in the pantry there. Nobody else seemed to like it, but it was really good.
The dried fruit was awful.
At least I eat. In space, I eat like I do underground.
This is coffee.
Right. So did Doc.
So did Doc.
That was the real rotating Grappolo board.
Yeah, we gave us time to play up there, too.
We, when Ox and I were playing with the banana, and down there, we were down in the flight deck by ourselves. Everyone else was up in the mid deck, or up on the, we were down the mid deck. Everybody else was up on the flight deck, and we got the giggles. So we were down there like two teenagers, just tears in our eyes, giggling and playing with bananas and doing this. And Bob Crippen, our commander, stuck his head down the hole and just looked at us and just kind of shook his head and went back up. And so some of it's really fun. So there are two things about spaceflight that are really unique and fun. Zero gravity is one, playing with your food, spinning around, not sleeping very much because you don't get tired. And sleeping is interesting. The way I slept in my last couple of missions, I tried the sleeping bag in my first flight, but I thought it hot and uncomfortable. So after that, I would just take some duct tape and tape one of my feet somewhere, and then just hang down like a stalactite and put the cover over my eyes because the sun comes up every 90 minutes, and just kind of tuck in like a chrysalis and try and go to sleep. And as you go to sleep, you can tell someone is asleep because their body assumes the natural position for a relaxed human being, which looks kind of like this. And so it's really weird to be the only one awake and have all your crewmates looking like praying mantises. And anyway, besides the zero gravity, the other part that I found just amazing was looking out the window at the Earth. The Earth is an incredibly beautiful planet. Lots of things you can see that are kind of disturbing. You can see some national boundaries where water use is different on one side of the border as the other. United States and Mexico, Namibia, and what's north? Congo, I guess. Saudi Arabia has puddles of water. If you get the glint from the sun just right, there's puddles of water all over the whole peninsula where they've drilled little wells and have ponds to water their animals. So it's just fascinating to look out the window. You see a lot of pictures of the Middle East because it's never cloudy there. This is the Sinai Peninsula, and one of the things I found really unique is that every body of water, whether it's the Red Sea, the Mediterranean, the Atlantic, the Pacific, all are slightly different colors. So and the same with the surface of the Earth. So you get to the point where you can just glance out the window and see the color that's on the ground and know where you are. So you don't have to look necessarily for geographic features. Night is even fascinating. There are electric lights everywhere, all over the planet. There are people that there may not be evidence that there's intelligent life on the surface of the Earth, but there is evidence that there are engineers. Lots and lots of lights. And weather is fascinating. On the dark side of the Earth, there's lightning. You're almost always seeing lightning someplace. Every once in a while you come over some big storm like this hurricane, and there's lightning all around the eye, and just amazing. One of the things that's neat in this image, if you look along the top part of the image, you can see how thick the atmosphere is. Tiny little blue line, and that's it. That's all the air we have that keeps us alive. So if there's one kind of attitude change that happens among astronauts that I found, it's this idea of a realization of just how fragile the planet is. So everyone, whether you're a wishy-washy astronomer like me or a hardcore marine test pilot, you come back from experience in space kind of as an environmentalist thinking, wow, you know, it's easy to impact this planet.
Told us we had to come home and quit playing.
Okay, landing. Re-entry.
We had to wave off once. I had lots of practice of that, having done it on my last flight, so it worked exactly the same way. No problems at all.
So these are the suits we wore before the Challenger accident. You can see they're just flight
suits.
These are
16 millimeter motion picture taken out of the overhead window. This spike thing was just sat over the middle of the payload bay during the whole entry, which was at night. It's a big shock of some sort, and all this flashing and burning was going on around it. I kept tapping everybody on the shoulder trying to get them to look at it. They were busy flying the orbiter.
That's what it looks like outside the forward windows. That captures the color very well. It was dark most of our entry, so we got a chance to get a fantastic light show. Vehicle flew like it normally does. We had no problems at all in entry. It was completely nominal as the vehicle behaved superbly throughout the flight. We had very few malfunctions. Lighting was such that we couldn't pick up many landmarks visually until we came overhead Edwards. About 45,000 feet, we began to pick up normal landmarks. There's deploying the gear at about 300 feet. And we were using lake bed runway 17, and that all went very nominal as far as we were concerned.
And the pilots make it look so easy.
Touchdown and held the nose off until 180 knots, which is a normal way we practice it, and then we derotated at about 1 degree per second. We have made a modification that we started on 9 on the flight control system that gives you a little bit more control over the nose as you're lowering it. It's a lot more positive now. I was interested in exercising the brakes since I hadn't used them very well previous times, and we have had some brake problems. We did get on the brakes pretty good, and they again malfunctioned to some degree. There's 5 happy guys climbing off, and everybody, maybe with a little bit of sea legs, but everybody feeling very good.
They make that landing look easy, but when you fly in an airliner as you're coming in for a landing, the airplane is coming towards the ground at about 700 feet per minute. That's its descent rate, and 150 knots or so. The space shuttle is doing, on final approach, is doing about maybe between 220, 250 knots, and its descent rate is 11,000 feet per minute. It's basically falling out of the sky, and just then you start your flare. Start pulling back on the stick to flare at about 1,500 feet above the ground, which is way higher than a regular airplane. So when you take somebody who's an airplane pilot and put them in the shuttle simulator, their first approach looks like this. Boom. And their thing destroyed those. So it takes, the pilots who fly it are really good. So the last thing is just beyond the human space flight program and everything else, which is amazing, and that with the commercial vehicles and that, I think the future just looks really fun for being in space. But some of the other things we do in space are just incredible. And this machine, as an astronomer, I have an eternal debt to the engineers who designed and built this thing. This is the Webb telescope, and it's a piece of origami, basically. It was all folded up and put on a rocket, and it is performing spectacularly. We're learning amazing things. So this is your physics lesson for today. This is an image of the sky about 2 arc minutes. In technical terms, it's about the size of a tennis ball at 100 yards. That's how much of the sky you're seeing there. And everything except that bright thing with the spikes on it is a galaxy out somewhere way out in the universe. And the astronomers don't care about the bright ones necessarily. They're looking for the very, very faintest dots. And here are a few of them. And this little number here, this Z number, is the redshift for, it means the change in the wavelength divided by the rest wavelength. And so a Z of 13.2 is really big. You can't just do a regular Doppler shift. You have to use the relativistic Doppler shift. And the velocity there is about 0.99 c. It's 99% the speed of light. That galaxy is moving away from us. It's at the very, it's both at the edge of the universe and the beginning of the universe at the same time, right? And this, the way we measure the redshift is by this thing called the Lyman break. And the Lyman break is, for those of you who are physicists, it's just the wavelength of the ionization of hydrogen in the rest state. So 912 angstroms for old people, 91.2 nanometers for current students, and a really small number of inches for the engineers. And so you can see this, where the light at wavelengths shorter on your left side of the line, any light that has wavelengths shorter than that has enough energy to ionize hydrogen. And since the universe at this stage is made almost entirely of hydrogen, it might be 10% helium, all of the photons that are short of 912 angstroms or 91.2 nanometers will be absorbed by hydrogen because they'll ionize the hydrogen. And that's why you get this dip called the Lyman break. That's how they measure the redshift of these galaxies. So not only do you have to be able to take an image, but you have to be able to take a spectrum of that very, very faint red dot, which you need a telescope like the Webb Space Telescope to do that. It's an incredible, incredible thing. And the future of astronomy, I think, is just in the next few decades is going to be amazing. So thank you. Thank you to the Astronaut Scholarship Foundation. And thanks to this wonderful place, to Harvey Mudd, for being such a great place to grow and learn. So thanks. So, questions, anyone? I have to point out, I'm so intimidated because in the audience is someone, when my senior year as a physics major, I was a grader for one of the junior classes. And my friend in the audience here made that really easy because I just used his paper as the key. Because he always had everything right. Thanks, John. He also is a wonderful musician and played at my wedding, which is probably even more important. Yeah, all right. I know. Okay.
Why did they stop flying the man maneuvering unit? The portable jetpack.
Right. Why did they stop flying the jetpack, the man maneuvering unit? Yeah, it turned out that we learned that we didn't need it. That it was much easier just to put the crewmen out in the payload bay, fly the space shuttle right up to the satellite and reach out and grab it. A lot less overhead. Well, yeah. It just turned out it's an amazing machine, but we just didn't need it. So it's a shame, but because it was really fun. What made the decision to go untethered instead of tethered? The last thing you want to be is wrapped up in 100 yards of string, right? So the machine's redundant, and the space shuttle could always fly over and get us. So we weren't worried about being lost in space, and it's just much easier to be untethered. The Russians flew a similar device, but they flew it tethered on their space station. They went out and back in and declared victory. That's the only time they've ever done it. So, yes, ma'am. Oh, I wish I could, but no, I'm too old. So you have to go for me. Is that okay? Okay. Did you want to ask a question? Yeah. You can relay it. Oh. Is it true there's no noise in space? If you're out in the vacuum of space, yeah, there won't be any sound because sound needs air to travel through. And if there's no air, then there won't be any sound. But when you're inside your spacesuit, there's air inside the spacesuit, so there's sound in there. So if you didn't have a radio, if you have two people in spacesuits next to each other, you could yell as loud as you want, but they'd never hear you. Way up there. Okay, so what's the average day look like? It kind of depends on the mission. So we run a space flight from this document called the CAP, the Crew Activity Plan. And it lists pretty much minute by minute what you're expected to do. And so it could be doing some kind of scientific experiment. It could be doing a preparation to do a spacewalk or do a spacewalk. Or there really isn't any typical day. They try to structure the mission to accomplish all the tasks they set out for it. And then, so you schedule the tasks and you apply them in, and when you train, you practice kind of one day at a time, so you know what day one looks like and day two looks like and all that. And when was I most scared? All three launches are terrifying, and so you should be scared, right? Because there's 7 million pounds of thrust underneath you. You know, there's 5 big fires burning, and a lot could go wrong. It's a dangerous machine. I was never scared on entry. It turns out I probably should have been. You know, we didn't think entry was hazardous until after the Columbia was lost on entry, and so I hadn't really thought about it all that much. I probably should have. Once the engine's cut off and you get on orbit, it's very comfortable in there. You know, every once in a while, you get an alarm or something, you think something's broken, and that kind of gets your attention, but usually not for very long because the ground is looking at your equipment too and keeping track of what's going on. I got scared once in the middle of the night when one of my crewmates had a nightmare and screamed. He dreamed he was falling. Imagine that. Because he was. Okay. How do I prepare mentally? I think you train a lot, so you feel confident about everything that you have to do, you can do, and all the other procedures, emergency procedures and whatever, everything that you might have to do, you can do. And once you have all that stuff in your head, then you feel good about it, and you know that your crewmates are in the same boat, right? They're well prepared, and you can rely on your crewmates also. I mean, it's really a team sport, right? So, so I didn't feel any time really stressed. There was you saw the flying over to the satellite. I was unsuccessful at grappling with the satellite. Turned out it wasn't my fault, thank God. But that was fairly stressful. I think my heart rate was up a bit when I was banging against the satellite and not attaching myself to it. But at the same time, I wasn't really scared. I mean, I wasn't in any mortal danger or anything like that. I just wasn't the mission wasn't going like it was supposed to be going, and that's a little stressful. So what was astronaut selection like? How did I prepare for it, and what's the... Oh, well, I'm not a big planner. So I filled out the application and I sent it in, and I was invited down for an interview, and my philosophy during the selection interview was just to play it absolutely straight, right? If they were going to hire me, they were going to hire me, right? And so I don't know if you remember, there used to be these commercials on television for Starkist tuna. Charlie the tuna, who tried to dress up and make himself just right so that Starkist would put him in a can. And I've known a number of people who wanted to be astronauts desperately and tried to do all kinds of stuff that they wouldn't naturally do, and never made it. Okay? But I was lucky, you know, had some things going for me. I knew how to fly. I was in good physical shape. I had the right degree. So I filled all the right squares. And then I think during the selection, it's just a matter of deciding. I've been on the selection committee a couple times. You look for people, everybody's qualified. It's not a matter of finding those few pearls that are out there. It's a matter of selecting among a sea of qualified candidates. And so you tend to choose people who are like you. It's self-selecting, right? Self-replicating organization. And so people that you can get along with. There are really two attributes that seem contradictory but really aren't. The first is being supremely self-confident. I know I can learn to do whatever I need to do, but also I'm a team player. People can rely on me, and I can rely on my teammates my crewmates to do what they need to do. So those combination of those two things, being able to work as really well as a team and as an individual, both are important. So it's a crapshoot, right? I think there were, 20,000 applicants for the group that I was, the 35 that we were selected in. So I really think I was selected because I was a good baseball player, but that's another story. Yes.
What is that like while you're in the shuttle as opposed to the blackout that we were observing from down below?
It's quiet. Yeah. All right, physics majors, why is there radio silence? Yeah, right. So you have a ball of ionized gas around you, which is a conductor. So radio waves, you're in a little Faraday cage, more or less. Communication can't get in and out, and so you're inside. You're coming down. Your instruments are all working. You're monitoring your trajectory and all that stuff. You don't really need the ground to tell you anything at that point. Oh yeah, you saw. I don't know if you could see it in the movie or not, but the entry that I showed was at night, and outside the windows is this red hot light show going on, and down around Mach 5, you get these swirls of glowing gas in the windows, and the shock wave out overhead. And so it's outside, it's pretty exciting. Inside, it's quiet and smooth and hardly boring, but yeah. What's the hottest? Did I like space, and what's the hottest place in space? Well, in the space shuttle, yes, I like space. Space is great. You'll like it too, because you'll probably get there someday. And the hottest place is if you wanted to go, the space shuttle has a payload bay that's kind of this shape. And if you're in the sun at the bottom of the payload bay, it can get really hot. Because the sun is hot, and it's like lying on a beach in a tanning bed, right? With all the foil around you, you could get sunburn. By the same token, if you're out in space and you're in the shade, deep space is 3 degrees above absolute zero. So it can get really cold. When I was flying the maneuvering unit, I had the sun at my back. And so I had a lot of shade back, a lot of equipment back there, and I was freezing cold. Yeah, it was really cold. Okay. Well, thank you very much.